Hi everybody and welcome back to Ben Piper Drums. If you're new here, join the growing community and hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to look at a couple more beginner drum patterns. But first of all, if you haven't already, now will be a great time to go back and check out my previous videos, Drum Notation Explained and your first beginner drum pattern, just so you fully understand what we're looking at. So if you've spent the last few days practicing your first beginner drum pattern, you should be feeling a lot more comfortable with that by now. You want to see this as the starting point to build other 4/4 drum patterns. For our next pattern, we can keep all of the elements from the first pattern. And just to recap, the hi-hat is written as the cross on the top line and is counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as we already know, the bass drum is on beats 1 and 3 and the snare drum is on beats 2 and 4. But now we'll add an extra bass drum on the and between the 2 and the 3. Here's how it will sound. Some students struggle to remember where to put the new bass note, and if this is the case, I would recommend counting as you play. The 2 bass drums should appear on and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You can also think of this as the new bass drum appearing straight after the first snare drum on beat 2. So in other words, the first time you hit the hi-hat after the first snare drum, that's where your new bass drum should be. It can be a common mistake to play the 2 bass drums in slightly the wrong place, for example on a 3 and. Now of course this is a completely valid drum pattern in its own right. Obviously there are a ton of different pattern combinations you can use on the drums, but just be careful not to stray onto a different pattern without realising. Once you're more comfortable with this pattern, you can start to play it in combination with the first pattern we learned. So now let's tweak that to make another new pattern. This one can be a little bit harder to master, but it's a cool, funky pattern to play. Now once again, we can keep all of the elements from the last pattern we were playing, but now we're going to bump the second bass drum up from the beat 3 to the and in between the 3 and the 4. Now this is a very minor change to make to the pattern, but as you'll hear, it sounds completely different. A common mistake to make with this pattern is to play the bass and the snare on the and 4 the wrong way round, like this. So it's important to remember the first part of the pattern is snare bass, and the second part is the other way around, bass snare. And again, once we become more confident with these patterns, we can play them together by alternating between them. One thing you'll notice here is that we've managed to build 2 different patterns just by altering where the bass beats fall. The snare drum has stayed in position on beats 2 and 4. Always remember that when you're practicing these patterns, you need to concentrate on how it sounds. Are they smooth, with a good flow and rhythm, or are they a little bit untidy and out of time? And as we've said before, feel and groove are everything when you're playing music, so make sure you really pay attention to how it sounds. So now we have 3 different beginner patterns that we can practice. Get to grips with those and then come back later where we'll be looking at playing along with music. If you have any questions, do feel free to email me or message me in the comments section. And remember, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks guys and happy drumming.